Jerusalem is under attack, not in the way people have come to expect over the past weeks. Not a single missile slipping through defenses. Not an isolated impact that officials can contain, explain away, and move past. This is different. Multiple explosions, multiple districts, multiple impacts landing within moments of each other across a city that was never supposed to face something like this. The skyline is no longer calm. Sirens did sound, but not early enough, not long enough for everyone to react. And now across Jerusalem, hundreds of thousands of people are underground, in shelters and stairwells and basements, waiting for confirmation, waiting for silence, waiting to understand what just happened above them. Because what hit Jerusalem was not just another strike. It was a coordinated, multi-directional attack, designed to break the system protecting the city. And for the first time in this conflict, that system didn't hold. To understand what is happening right now, you need to understand the nature of this attack. Because this was not random. This was engineered. Modern missile defense systems are built around prediction and prioritization. When a small number of threats approach a city, the system calculates trajectories, identifies high-risk impact zones, and launches interceptors accordingly. It's a controlled response, focused, calculated, efficient. But that model depends on one key assumption, that threats arrive in manageable numbers, from limited directions, within a predictable window. What happened over Jerusalem broke that assumption completely. This was a saturation strike, multiple incoming projectiles arriving at nearly the same time from different vectors, aimed at different parts of the city. Not overwhelming by sheer volume, but overwhelming by design. Each incoming object forced the system to make a decision. Which one to intercept, which one to ignore, which one poses the greater threat. And when too many of those decisions happen at once, something unavoidable occurs. Gaps form, and through those gaps, impacts happen. This is where the situation becomes more serious. Because this was not just about getting through defenses. It was about sending a message, a calibrated message. Not a strike meant to completely destroy the system, but one meant to prove that the system can be broken at will. That no matter how much is intercepted, some will always get through. That protection is no longer guaranteed, and that changes everything. Now, think about the city itself. Jerusalem is not just another urban center. It is not built like Tel Aviv. It is not designed like modern metropolitan zones with uniform infrastructure and standardized protection systems. Jerusalem is layered, ancient and modern existing side by side. Wide roads and narrow alleys, reinforced buildings and centuries-old stone structures. Some areas have advanced shelters. Others barely have any protection at all. And when an attack spreads across that kind of environment, the impact is not equal. It is uneven, unpredictable, and in many places, devastating. The western parts of the city, where administrative and residential zones dominate, have stronger infrastructure, more shelters, better emergency response access. But even there, the timing of the strike matters. If warnings come late, even the best systems struggle, because seconds matter. And today, seconds were lost. Then there's the old city, a place unlike any other on Earth. Dense, historic, constantly active. A place where movement is slow, even on a normal day. Where buildings were never designed for modern warfare scenarios. Where thousands of people are present at any given time. Not just residents, but visitors, pilgrims, tourists. People who are not trained for this, people who don't know where to go, people who may not even understand what is happening until it's too late. And when a strike reaches near that environment, the consequences are not just physical, they are global. Because Jerusalem is not just a location. It is meaning. It is identity. It is belief. For billions of people around the world, Jerusalem is not just a city on a map. It is something deeply personal. And when something happens here, it doesn't stay here. It spreads emotionally, politically, religiously. Right now, information is limited. Authorities are not releasing full details. Damage assessments are incomplete. And in that silence, uncertainty grows. Were key sites affected? How close were the impacts? What exactly was targeted? And perhaps most importantly, was this controlled or was it escalation? Because that question defines what comes next. If this was a demonstration, it sends one kind of signal. If it was escalation, it sends another. And the difference between those two paths is enormous. Across the world, reactions are already beginning. Governments are issuing statements. Organizations are calling emergency discussions. Leaders are urging restraint. But beneath all of that, there is tension, because everyone understands what this moment represents, a line that may have just been crossed. In conflicts, there are moments that stand apart, moments that redefine the situation, moments after which nothing feels the same. This may be one of those moments. Because until now, this conflict had boundaries, unwritten, but real. Certain places carried weight, certain actions carried consequences that everyone wanted to avoid. But when a strike of this scale reaches Jerusalem, those boundaries begin to blur, and once they blur, They are very difficult to restore. For decision makers, this creates a problem, not just a military problem, a strategic one, a political one, because responses now are not just about defense, they are about perception, about control, about credibility. If the response is too weak, it signals vulnerability. If it is too strong, it risks escalation. And in a situation already this fragile, escalation is not a simple outcome. It is a chain reaction. Inside Israel, this moment carries weight that is difficult to measure because Jerusalem represents more than just territory. It represents history, identity, and continuity. And seeing it under this kind of attack challenges something deeper than security. It challenges confidence. At the same time, for Iran, if this strike is confirmed as theirs, the implications are equally significant because executing a coordinated, multi-layered attack like this demonstrates capability, precision, planning, and understanding of defensive systems. It suggests that this was not experimental. It was intentional. And that brings us back to the most important question, not what happened, but why it happened this way. Because this was not the largest strike possible. It was not overwhelming in sheer numbers. It was something more precise than that. A strike designed to achieve a specific effect, to prove a specific point, to create a specific reaction. And right now, that reaction is still forming on the ground. In governments, across populations, people are still in shelters. Emergency services are still responding. Assessments are still being made. And above all, the situation is still unfolding. What happens next will depend on what is confirmed in the coming hours. The scale of damage, the locations affected, the nature of the incoming threats, and the decisions made in response. Because this moment is not the end of something. It is the beginning of a new phase. A phase where the assumptions that held this conflict in check may no longer apply. Where defense is no longer seen as absolute. Where escalation becomes easier. And restraint becomes harder. Jerusalem has seen conflict before, many times, across centuries. But every era brings its own version of crisis. Its own version of uncertainty. And today's version is shaped by technology, speed, and scale. Missiles that arrive in minutes. Decisions made in seconds. And consequences that last far longer. For the people in the city, this is not about strategy. It is about survival, about getting through the next hour, the next alert, the next impact. For the world watching, it is something else, a moment of realization that this conflict has reached a point where even the most sensitive locations are no longer out of reach. And once that realization sets in, it changes how everything is viewed. Every statement, every action, every decision moving forward. Because the question is no longer just about who is winning or who is losing, it is about how far this can go and where it stops. Right now, no one has that answer. But one thing is clear, what happened in Jerusalem today is not just another event in an ongoing conflict. It is a turning point, and what comes after a turning point is never predictable. Thanks for watching. If you want to stay updated on developments like this, make sure you subscribe and follow the channel. Drop your thoughts below. Do you think this was a calculated signal or the beginning of something much bigger? And how do you think the world will respond if escalation continues from here? I'll see you in the next one.